In a historic move that is sending ripples across the African continent, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young and fearless leader of Burkina Faso, has launched what is now being described as Africa's largest irrigation project in history. This bold initiative marks a transformative chapter not only for Burkina Faso but for the future of African agriculture as a whole. At just 36 years old, Traoré has proven time and again that he is not your typical head of state. Since taking office in a country plagued by droughts, terrorism, and foreign exploitation, he has relentlessly pursued a vision of self-reliance, food security, and economic independence. And now, with this massive irrigation project, that vision is being turned into a concrete reality. The newly launched project aims to irrigate over 1.5 million hectares of arid and semi-arid land across Burkina Faso and eventually extend to neighboring Sahel countries. This land, once considered barren and unusable, is being transformed into fertile ground capable of supporting year-round farming, fruit orchards, and sustainable livestock grazing. But what makes this project truly revolutionary? It's not just the size, it's the approach. Instead of relying on foreign contractors and corporations, this project is being built and maintained by Africans for Africans. Local engineers, scientists, farmers, and laborers are at the heart of the operation. This ensures not only job creation but also that the knowledge and skills remain within the community. The technology being used is a hybrid of traditional water harvesting techniques and modern, solar-powered drip irrigation systems. Massive reservoirs and underground canals are being constructed to capture and distribute rainwater efficiently, even during the dry season. These canals will connect to small community-managed farms, empowering villages to grow their own food and sell the surplus in local markets. According to insiders in the Burkina government, the project will also include the planting of millions of drought-resistant trees and crops, which will contribute to the Great Green Wall Initiative, a Pan-African effort to stop desertification and restore degraded land across the continent. Ibrahim Traoré has emphasized in his speeches that this project is not just about agriculture, it's about sovereignty. He said, and I quote, "We cannot depend on foreign aid to feed our people. Water is life, land is wealth. When we bring water to our land, we bring life to our people. This is how we will reclaim our dignity and build the Africa we deserve." And it seems he is not alone. Across Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and Chad, farmers are watching closely and many are ready to join the movement. Regional leaders have already expressed interest in replicating this model, and talks of a joint West African irrigation network are reportedly underway. International observers have taken note, too. Some Western governments have raised eyebrows, claiming the project may lack the oversight of international institutions. But for many Africans, this is precisely the point. For decades, African nations have been told what they can and cannot do with their own resources. But this time, the narrative is being written by Africans themselves, led by a new generation of leaders like Traoré who are unafraid to challenge the status quo. The economic impact of the project is expected to be profound. Analysts predict that, within 5 years, Burkina Faso could become a net exporter of food to neighboring nations. This would not only stabilize local food prices but also reduce dependency on foreign imports, saving billions in revenue and improving nutrition standards for millions. The irrigation project is also designed with climate resilience in mind. By improving soil quality, reducing water runoff, and diversifying crops, the project aims to shield farmers from the worst effects of climate change. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of this project lies in its symbolism. In a time when many African youth feel disillusioned and disconnected from development efforts led by elites or foreign powers, Traoré is offering a different vision, one rooted in empowerment, ownership, and unity. In village after village, hope is returning. Farmers who once struggled to grow millet on dusty fields are now planting tomatoes, onions, rice, and even strawberries. Children are returning to school, fed by school gardens powered by the new irrigation systems. Women's cooperatives are forming to grow cash crops and start small agri-businesses. The ripple effect is real, and it's only just beginning. What we are witnessing is not just an infrastructure project. It is a revolution of the land, a reawakening of what Africa can be when its people are given the tools, the freedom, and the leadership to shape their own destiny. As this irrigation mega-project gains momentum, one thing is clear: Ibrahim Traoré is not just leading a country. He is leading a movement. And in that movement, Africa is not begging. Africa is building. Stay tuned as we continue to follow this groundbreaking development. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for the latest updates on Africa's rise led by its own sons and daughters. In yet another unexpected and groundbreaking announcement, President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso has unveiled West Africa's first-ever military-led technology and innovation academy, aimed at empowering the region's youth with digital skills, defense technologies, and critical thinking tools needed for a new era of African independence. While the world watches the headlines focused on global powers and geopolitics, something extraordinary is happening in Burkina Faso, a quiet revolution that's rapidly transforming from resistance into resilience, and from defense into development. This new initiative, launched in the capital city of Ouagadougou, is not just another government program, it's a strategic transformation hub, designed to equip Africa's next generation with tools to defend their nations, rebuild economies, and leapfrog into the digital age. The Burkina Faso Military Tech Academy, BMT Academy, will train young men and women from across the country, and eventually the entire Sahel region, in fields like cybersecurity, drone and satellite technology, renewable energy systems, advanced coding and AI applications, telecommunications infrastructure, military engineering and logistics, and even robotics and defense manufacturing, But what makes this project truly revolutionary is the integration of military discipline with technological innovation. This is not just a coding boot camp. It's a full-scale, multidisciplinary institution where young Africans will be taught to innovate with purpose, to build not just apps but entire systems that reinforce their nation's sovereignty. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Ibrahim Traoré stood before a crowd of youth, engineers, and military officers and declared, "We are no longer fighting just with bullets. The new war is for the mind, for the soul of our continent. This academy is our shield and our sword. Here, we will train thinkers who can protect Africa not only with courage, but with code." This powerful statement underscores his vision. Africa must become a producer of technology, not just a consumer. The academy will be open to students from ages 18 to 30, selected based on merit, motivation, and a willingness to serve their nation. It will also include a special unit for young women in STEM, offering them full scholarships, leadership training, and the resources to launch their own tech startups or defense projects. Several African countries have expressed interest in replicating The model and leaders from Mali, Niger, and Guinea have already signed preliminary agreements to send cadets to Burkina Faso for joint training. The long-term goal? To create a Pan-African tech defense alliance that builds indigenous solutions to African problems without dependence on the West or China. The Academy also plans to launch its own innovation lab and defense startup incubator where students will be mentored to design solutions tailored to African terrains, solar-powered surveillance systems, off-grid communication tools, digital border security platforms, and more. Many international observers are stunned by the speed at which Traoré is moving. In less than 2 years in power, he has restructured his military, expelled foreign troops, stabilized large parts of the country, and now is building the intellectual infrastructure for a self-sufficient future. Critics, mostly from former colonial powers, have tried to cast doubt on the feasibility and sustainability of the project. But on the ground, in West Africa, hope is growing. Local teachers, engineers, and even private African tech firms are volunteering to join the academy as mentors. The response from the youth has been overwhelming. Applications reportedly crossed 10,000 in the first week alone. For years, Africa has lost thousands of its brightest minds to brain-drain young people fleeing to Europe, America, or Asia in search of opportunity. But with projects like the BMT Academy, Ibrahim Traoré is flipping the script. He's creating a reason for young Africans to stay, build, and lead. This is not just about Burkina Faso. This is about igniting a spark across the continent, a digital uprising with African values at its core, a movement that understands sovereignty not just in terms of borders and flags, but in control over data, innovation, and technological futures. In the words of a young cadet we spoke to, greater than this academy is our chance to fight not just with weapons but with wisdom. Traoré believes in us and now we believe in ourselves. And that belief, when armed with the right tools, is Africa's greatest weapon. In a move that has stunned global financial markets and inspired nationalist movements across the continent, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has officially ordered the expulsion of multiple Western mining corporations from Burkina Faso, accusing them of decades-long exploitation, environmental destruction, and economic sabotage. The message is loud and clear. Burkina Faso's resources belong to its people, not to foreign billionaires. For decades, Burkina Faso has been one of the world's largest producers of gold, exporting billions of dollars worth of the precious metal every year. But the reality on the ground paints a different picture. The majority of the profits have gone into the coffers of foreign corporations, while ordinary Burkinab live in poverty and communities near the mines suffer from polluted water, toxic air, and land degradation. Ibrahim Traoré has decided that enough is enough. In a nationwide address broadcast live across Burkina Faso, he said, "We will no longer accept a system where our gold builds skyscrapers in Europe while our people drink dirty water. Our ancestors fought for this land, and we will fight to protect its wealth." With that declaration, the government revoked permits of at least 7 major Western mining companies, many of which were backed by French, Canadian, and British investors. These companies were given a tight deadline to cease operations, vacate mining zones, and leave the country peacefully. And here's the most important part. These mining zones will not be shut down permanently. Instead, Traoré's government has announced a new initiative, the National Gold Reclamation and Equity Program (NGREP), that will place gold mining operations directly under Burkina control using local engineers, state-owned companies, and transparent public oversight. This is a major shift in the balance of power. It is no longer business as usual in Africa. Under the new policy, at least 60% of profits from gold extraction will go directly to public welfare programs, including building rural schools and hospitals, providing clean water systems, offering seed funding for local agriculture, paying fair wages to mining laborers, establishing a national gold reserve for financial security. The remaining 40% will be reinvested into sustainable infrastructure, mining equipment, and technological training for local communities. Many Western governments have responded with concern, citing investor instability and loss of confidence. But on the streets of Ouagadougou and in the gold-rich regions of Gawa and Yako, people are celebrating. For the first time in generations, the people feel like they are the owners of their land again. Local elders in mining villages have described the decision as historic. One elder said, greater than, they came with machines and promises, but they left us with dust and sorrow. Today, our son Traoré has taken back what was stolen. What's even more astonishing is that Traoré is inviting African nations with similar experiences to join a Pan-African mining cooperative, where countries can exchange expertise, pool resources, and negotiate as a united front on the global commodities market. He has also invited Chinese, Russian, and Turkish mining technologists, but on Burkina Faso's terms, with strict oversight, fair labor practices, and no ownership of land or permanent control of the resource. This signals a new model of resource sovereignty in Africa, one based on partnership, not exploitation. Analysts around the world are now paying attention. While Western media outlets are labeling him a populist and anti-business, millions of Africans are seeing Ibrahim Traoré as a hero, a leader who dared to take back what rightfully belongs to his people. This bold move could have major ripple effects across the continent. Countries like Mali, Niger, Guinea, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, all rich in natural resources and fed up with colonial-era contracts, are closely observing the outcomes of Burkina Faso's decision. Traoré, unfazed by international pressure, continues to speak with conviction. Greater than, they can take their machines and their false promises, but they cannot take our courage, our land, or our destiny. Burkina Faso will rise on the strength of its people and the wealth beneath their feet. And indeed, something is rising. Not just gold production under national control, but pride, ownership, and a new African consciousness, one that refuses to sell itself short. Burkina Faso is now rewriting the rules of engagement when it comes to global resource politics. And Ibrahim Traoré is leading that charge with clarity, confidence, and the full support of his people. This is not just about gold. This is about dignity, justice, and a future where Africa stands tall, not as a victim, but as a victor. In a monumental step toward ending hunger and food dependency across Africa, Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso has officially launched the Pan-African Agricultural Alliance, PAA, a bold, visionary coalition of African nations dedicated to building a self-reliant, food-secure continent through cooperation, innovation, and solidarity. While the world's attention often focuses on wars, aid packages, or debt talks, Ibrahim Traoré is focusing on what really matters: feeding the people with dignity. The alliance was inaugurated in Ouagadougou, where leaders, ministers, farmers' unions, and agricultural experts from 14 African nations, including Mali, Niger, Chad, Guinea, Senegal, Togo, and Ethiopia, gathered to sign what many are calling the Food Sovereignty Declaration of Africa. This alliance is not just a diplomatic club. It is a working force, structured, funded, and mobilized to solve real problems with real tools, in real time. The goals of the Pan-African Agricultural Alliance include establishing shared seed banks across member states for indigenous, drought-resistant, and high-yield crops *, building cross-border irrigation canals and water-sharing agreements, deploying African-trained agroengineers to rural areas for rapid farm transformation, creating a continental food storage and emergency distribution system * supporting local fertilizer production, free from dependency on Western suppliers * and encouraging youth-led agri-startups through shared grants and land access * For decades, Africa has imported billions of dollars worth of wheat, rice, and other staples from Europe, China, and the United States. Despite having 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land, Traoré, backed by other like-minded African leaders, says this must end now. He declared at the summit, "Greater than we will not feed our people with promises. We will feed them with the soil under our feet, the water in our rivers, and the unity in our hearts. Africa must feed Africa, not beg for food from those who stole our land." This statement triggered standing ovations and emotional reactions from young African farmers present at the event. Many of them, from rural communities who have struggled for decades, now feel seen, heard, and finally empowered. What makes the alliance special is that it is completely free from Western influence or international financial institutions. Funding comes from member states pooling national resources, local philanthropists, and revenue from nationalized mining and energy sectors such as Burkina Faso's recently reclaimed gold industry. The alliance is already working on its first major joint project, the Sahel Food Corridor, which will connect Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and Chad with shared farming zones, food silos, and irrigation systems, ensuring that drought or conflict in one country doesn't paralyze the food supply of another. The project also includes mobile agricultural training centers, converted trucks and buses that travel to remote villages, teaching farmers how to use modern tools, organic fertilizers, pest control, and storage systems, all adapted to African conditions. And here's the most powerful aspect. Women are at the center of this movement. The alliance has dedicated 40% of its funding to female-led farms, cooperatives, and agribusinesses, recognizing that African women produce more than 60% of the continent's food, but often receive less than 10% of agricultural support. This is not just policy. It is justice. Youth are also being mobilized like never before. Under a campaign titled Green Soldiers of Africa, thousands of young men and women will be trained not only as farmers, but as land protectors, seed scientists, irrigation experts, and food entrepreneurs. The campaign promotes agriculture as a career of pride, innovation, and resistance, not just survival. Global reactions have been mixed. Some Western think tanks express concern about the radical independence of the alliance. But African citizens from Ghana to Kenya, from Sudan to Cameroon, are watching with admiration, many demanding their own governments join the movement. As Traoré said in a press conference, greater than food is not just a need. It is power. Those who control your food control your future. We will never again allow our children to go hungry while our lands remain idle. This message is already bearing fruit, literally. Pilot farms under the alliance have produced record yields of maize, cassava, and millet in less than a year using low-cost, high-efficiency techniques developed by local African scientists. For the first time in decades, rural communities are exporting surplus instead of depending on food aid. The Pan-African Agricultural Alliance represents a turning point, not just in farming, but in philosophy. It is about more than crops. It is about control, community, and continental pride. With this alliance, Traoré is planting more than seeds in the ground. He's planting the vision of a sovereign, united, and self-fed Africa. In another bold and strategic move to secure his nation's future and reclaim Africa's autonomy, Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso has officially unveiled Africa's first state-owned, military-run weapon manufacturing plant located on the outskirts of Ouagadougou. This moment marks a historic shift, not just for Burkina Faso, but for the entire continent. For far too long, African nations have been dependent on foreign powers for their military supplies. From bullets to armored vehicles, the continent has spent billions of dollars importing weapons from Europe, Russia, the US, and China, often at inflated prices and under exploitative contracts. But now, Ibrahim Traoré is changing that narrative. With the launch of this facility, Burkina Faso becomes the first sub-Saharan African nation to build and mass-produce its own small arms, light weapons, and military-grade protective gear, including assault rifles, ammunition, bulletproof vests, surveillance drones, light armored, patrol vehicles, communication systems, and tactical uniforms tailored for African climates. But this isn't just a weapons factory. It's a symbol of resistance, sovereignty, and African ingenuity. At the launch event, Traoré stood in front of thousands of soldiers and engineers and declared, greater than, the age of begging is over. We will not rely on others to defend our land. Our hands will craft the tools of our defense. Our minds will sharpen them, and our spirit will guide them. The facility, named Karama Arsenal, after the region where Traoré was born, has been constructed in partnership with local engineers, defense scientists, and military officers trained in Africa and abroad. Notably, no Western or foreign companies are allowed to own, operate, or influence the plant. What makes this initiative even more revolutionary is that it will supply weapons not just for Burkina Faso, but also for its regional allies, including Mali, Niger, and Guinea, all part of the rising wave of Pan-African solidarity challenging neocolonialism and foreign domination. This regional defense partnership is being called the Sahel Shield Compact, and it represents a radical new approach. An African-built, African-led defense network, free from NATO, France, or the UN. The weapons produced will be used primarily for counterterrorism operations in the Sahel, border protection against foreign mercenaries and smuggling, internal stabilization missions, support for local militias defending their communities. Critics from Western powers are already voicing concerns, claiming the plant could destabilize the region. But to many Africans, this reaction is deeply hypocritical. After all, it was foreign powers that flooded Africa with weapons during conflicts and civil wars while profiting from the chaos. Now, when Africans want to defend themselves with their own tools, those same voices call it dangerous. Many African citizens are seeing through the noise. Across social media, young Africans are praising Traoré as a revolutionary, a defender, and a visionary. Memes, art, and songs are already circulating with slogans like our land, our hands, our guns. Africa armed with dignity. No more chains, even made of steel. And this is only the beginning. Traoré has announced plans to expand the facility to include research labs for weapon innovation, training centers for military engineers, and even export units that could supply weapons to other African countries seeking independence from Western arms contracts. The facility also includes a recycling unit designed to dismantle old or foreign weapons and reforge them into new tools. The symbolism is powerful, turning relics of dependency into instruments of sovereignty. Asterisk in a rare interview, one of the lead engineers of the Karama arsenal said, asterisk, "We are not just building weapons, we are building self-respect. We are telling the world that Africa will not kneel to be armed. We will stand up and build what we need." Asterisk. The impact of this initiative goes beyond the battlefield. It creates jobs for thousands of young Burkina, provides technical education, and strengthens national pride in a country long battered by terrorism and foreign interference. Asterisk. And just like his other initiatives from irrigation to gold, nationalization, Traoré is not seeking foreign approval. He's seeking African transformation. This is not a call to war. This is a call to independence, to be strong enough to protect peace, and wise enough to prevent future manipulation. As Burkina Faso arms itself not with foreign donations, but with its own hands and vision, one thing is becoming clear. Ibrahim Traoré is not just defending a country. He's defending a continent's right to choose its own destiny. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to follow this unfolding revolution in real time. More than headlines, we are witnessing history, a new Africa emerging from the shadows of dependence, armed not just with weapons, but with purpose. Africa is ready, and it will never be defenseless again.